Well, hello folks, LA Little here with TA Today, and in this video what I'm going to do is take a look at precious metals, gold and silver, right, uranium, and I'm going to look at the stocks in each of those groups. And just a quick reminder, this is a focused, concentrated approach to investing that I look at. I try to saddle that with money management. I try to say to myself, okay, how can we do this? How can we make the most money? And how can we do it in a safe way, or at least as safe as we can, right? Put most of your eggs in one basket and just watch that basket very carefully. Well, right now the market is offering three areas: precious metals, uranium, AI, especially chips. Here we're going to cover two of those three. If you want to look at the AI part, I do videos on the semiconductors all the time. That's on my channel, Trade Setup channel. You can check that out. Probably will do a video this weekend given what happened this week. As a reminder, the ability to provide these ongoing Neoclassical videos is supported by you and others like you. Hit the like button, share it, add it in terms of a subscription. I certainly appreciate that. Now let's get started here. So what do we have? Well, starting with the barbaric metal, here we have massive breakouts taking place. You can see on the daily just this huge move to the top side. Here's the weekly breakout over the swing point high, and you're breaking out on the monthly too. Now folks, that's 3 time frames: daily, weekly, monthly, breakouts on all of them. What happens when you do that? Well, when you do that, right, you've set the necessary but maybe not a sufficient condition for a continuation immediately without any kind of a retrace. In other words, we don't have to come back and test this swing point high. There's a high probability within 60 bars almost every swing point high that's broken is going to get retested. When you get all 3 time frames, this doesn't necessarily have to happen anymore. So when I tell you that, what does that tell you? Well, I hope it tells you the same thing it tells me, and that is that this might not get tested. If I'm going to buy in, I'm going to have to find a higher place. And our neoclassical charts are telling us there's 2 support areas where we should expect demand to come in. That's what those green horizontal lines are for. And on a short-term time frame, it's telling us these 2 areas. That's where we want to be focused. If you're already in this, such as I, well, all you're going to do is try to add to it if you need more inventory, if you want to take more inventory. And when you get a breakout on 3 time frames, you want to take more inventory. More than likely, you're not going to be invested enough. And so that's the scenario here on the metal. Moving to the miners next. I'm going to start with GDX. We'll do the juniors next. Here's a nice big spike. Breaks over swing point high here, here, here. Good news, right? Some volume build up as it breaks out. There's probably some short covering as well, but still held good volume the whole way. We got bullish over here now, sideways still on the intermediate term time frame. Let's take a look at that one now. This one's very interesting because here we actually broke over a bearish retest regen. So in other words, when you broke under it, right, you're going to come back and test it. That's what it did. Came back, tested, well, broke over it. When you break over it, that says that what was down probably sideways at worst, potentially up. Since we know gold is as strong as it is, well, it's probably going to be up before it's over. Where's up? Well, the targets are up here, swing point highs. Same thing on the monthly. You're going to have a swing point high up here around 36, which is basically this swing point high. So that's the ultimate target, is to get back up there and break that swing point high and take this long-term chart. Instead of it being a downtrend, it's been in a downtrend for a while, or at least it's been creeping lower. It actually broke lower here. You're getting a retest regen on this swing point low. So doing the same idea that we just talked about, what you're going to want to see is you're going to want to see it close over that retest regen area, 32.73. That tells you probably going to go to the highs. At least the downtrend's broken. So long way to go on GDX. At the same time, a lot of progress made this last week. Switching to the junior miners, we have almost exact same picture. Nice build up, breaks a bunch of swing point highs, turns this bullish. That's the MTTF's cumulative. If we look at the weekly, you got the same sort of a situation where you had a retest regen over here, broke over it, right? That's great because that says that what was down, probably sideways at worst, potentially up. Swing point highs up here, here, and here to go after. Again, very much the same thing over here. Switching to the silver chart, which I think has some great opportunity. Got a little bit of volume build up here, nice push, breaks over swing point high. Going up to test this one, got up there and tested it on Friday. I suspect it's going to break it. Maybe a little retrace before then, but I suspect it's going to break. If we look at it on the weekly, on the weekly here, you had 3 weeks of downside testing that couldn't break lower. And what I'm talking about is these lows down here. You came down, you try to test, you try to test, you try to test again, right? And then you finally get to pop back up to the upside. It's good action. Now, at the same time, this is really just a range, right? You're just inside a range. You got to get over this top. You got to break the swing point high. Well, actually, that one is already broke, but you got to break this swing point high, and you got to stretch up here and grab this one. And so silver, a lot of potential, good volume buildup, a ways to go still. And if we look at it over here on the monthly, in classical, what you'll see, folks, TA, folks will give you this triangle and tell you that you're at the wedge here and you're about to break out one way or the other. Well, what's the trend been? Well, the trend's been up, right? And then it was down here. Now we're trending back up again, and we've got some consolidation going on in this area. I don't try to draw these lines anymore because you just can't trust the lines. The only lines I draw are horizontal lines. And the reason for that is I'm looking for supply and I'm looking for demand. Demand's denoted by the green, supply by the S. How red is it versus how light tells you how much supply in a given area. So there is a deep amount of supply here. You can see it on this particular chart. That's where they're going to hit this price, and they're going to try to drive it back down. Folks, when you break through this, you're going to get a good run. So I like the potential of the silver market as a result of that from a technical perspective. Jumping over to silver stocks, here you can see just how much damage had been done in silver stocks. Nice big push up, of course. Percentage-wise, you're gaining 9.5%, 10%. It has broken some swing point highs on the way, turning this bullish again. We're still bearish on this time frame. This was the break, so this is the retest regen. Got up and tried to test right into it, so that's a full retest regen. That's good, but you really got to close over it, which is the supply. And that makes sense, right? That's where people are going to put their backs against the wall and short this thing. And so if you're looking at it on a weekly perspective, you're saying, okay, got to get over this. Where's the supply? Right there. It's right above it. So I would think that's where the shorts hit this thing and try to drive it down. Of course, when they get over it, you're going to see a squeeze back up the other way. And if you look over on the monthly, you can see just how much damage had been done over a period of time. So if you were to pull these charts back, I always do 5 years. If you pull these back farther, you would have seen a run up, a continuation up. Here's the push back down. Unable to break a swing point low on the way, but this thing has been drifting to the downside. So a lot of work to do. At the same time, some potential as a result of that. Weaker than the gold stocks. I wouldn't try to play the silver stocks that heavily right now. I would rather be in the actual physical and trade it instead of the others. Now here's the juniors. And the juniors, almost the same picture right across the board. I would point out that what you've had here, though, is very bullish if you're a bottom fisher, right? So if you're fishing for a bottom, this is how you get a bottom. You get a nice spike down, you test, you're trying to break that swing point low, you test under it, you get a hammer reversal, and then you springboard up. You can get a little backing and filling here, but this is what you want to see if you're trying to get a longer term bottom. And so I like this setup a lot as a result of that. Now let's switch over to uranium. Uranium is in a consolidation range now. And I broke that news back here when we broke down on this swing point high. So we got up underneath it. And that told us that, this was going to be a problem because we'd gotten above it here. This was the bullish retest regen in this area. And as we got under it on this bar, That was the indication that you had to get out. Where'd you get out? You got on the bounce back to the bar if you waited, or you broke out that particular day. Look at what it's done since. That's why you recognize something like that. That's why you're looking at bullish retest regions. It gives you the heads up to do something before it's too late. And so hopefully that's what people did. I put these videos out. You can go back. The last video I did talked about this particular break, and the video prior to that talked about the fact that that might happen, and you need to watch for it. So if you're here now, some folks are going to tell you, classical folks are going to tell you this is a big head and shoulders. Well, yeah, could be. But folks, I mean, look at this. This is a long run higher, and now a consolidation range is forming. This is on the weekly chart. That makes sense. I mean, it's what it should do. You can't go to the moon all in one shot. I mean, it takes stages to get there. Now, what we have here is we have an extended, or just beginning to become extended, MTTF cumulative on the intermediate term time frame, which means that it wants to break a swing point low, and that swing point low is just below here. Now, it just tested into it and was unable to do so. Both times, what is it testing? It's testing this anchor bar, which is this big candle here. A lot of volume on that anchor bar. It's not pushing the kind of volume it needs to break it. More than likely going to get a little bounce first, and then it will probably come back down. Could it go to the top? Yeah, it can. I mean, it's a range. Will it go to the top? Not necessarily, because you got a lot of volume in between here, and that's what this supply is telling you. So you're going to hit supply, and when you do, they could turn it and run it back down again. But at some point, probably this will break. So that's the setup. And you would actually like this to break, clean this thing out, refresh it, and go bullish again. That's the ideal case. Doesn't have to happen that way, but that's typically what you're looking for, and typically what does happen. So longer term, this is a very bullish chart. I doubt seriously that we're ever going to get back here to test this anytime soon. That will be probably months or years down the road, probably years. And right now, I guess the real question is, how long will this go? Well, this consolidation could last, I would say, months. So don't, if you're in this, you're going to see it go up and down, and that's what I've talked about before. Eventually, probably going to break to the top side. What you want to do, or at least what I'm doing, is I'm selling at the top of the range, partials, and I'm buying back down partials. And what am I doing? I'm taking my size and I'm building it bigger. And that's, I believe, the ideal way to trade something like this, and you prepare for the next run. Put some money in your pockets, add a little bit more. Switching over to the miners, well, the miners have the same problem, right? This was the bullish retest regen. That was the break. It was the same day that it broke on the physical. Goes down, coming back up. What's it going to do? Well, it's going to hit retest regens on the way back up. So, I mean, let's look at this together. It's not rocket science. So here's the break. What did they break? This one, it broke this swing point low. So that's the break there. You can see it. Here's this swing point low. What is it broken by? This one. So we break here, we break there. Now we're coming back to test them. These are bearish retest regens. There's one there, and there's another one up here. As it comes into them, the top of that one, 29.39. Where did we get? 29.35. Full retest regen. But then what happened? The bottom falls out. Not unexpected. I mean, that's very possible in a scenario like this. And so what they're doing is they're shaking the trees here. And as they shake the trees, people over time are going to give up. And they know that, right? Those people with the money that are shaking the trees, they know exactly how it works, and that's exactly what they're doing. And so if you're wanting to be in this, the big trade's going to be somewhere out in time after the range consolidation takes place for some period of time. How deep can it go? It could go even deeper. I mean, it could get back this deep. And so, these stocks are going to move more probably than the physical. And they're going to have a wider range more than likely. Does it have to move that far? No, it doesn't. It could break this swing point low. It could even hold where it's at now. But essentially, you're going to see a range build out, and that range build out is going to take time. eventually, more than likely, will break to the upside. That's the URA. URNM looks basically the same. I didn't see anything on these charts that looked different enough to discuss. And so all of those consolidation, probably going to stay consolidation, and that's what you need to trade while you wait. Now, since we're in consolidation, it doesn't make a lot of sense to push heavy into any of these particular stocks, but you can see each of these stocks are hit pretty hard. That was Cameco. You can go to Next Gen. You can see how they're hit pretty hard as a result of the breakdown on Friday, and almost all of them have engulfing, bearish engulfings. And so it's going to take a time to repair. It's going to take a time for these things to consolidate. So I'm not going to get into names here. What I am going to do quickly is review the gold stocks that are the strongest, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one, but I'm just going to show you the ones that look the strongest now from the perspective of the chart. Here's Alamos Gold, good looking chart, right? Nice big, all of these are going to show the same thing with respect to how they've pushed up. So you got this nice big strike, right? What you're looking for is you're looking at your top of the range and you're looking to see that you're bullish across all time frames. That's ideally what you want to see at this point in time. Here's Anglo Gold, same sort of scenario, coming back up, sideways on the outside time frame here, but the long term, but still nice looking chart. If we go to BVN, I'll just do the initials. This one's been extremely strong. You can see it breaking out again here at the end. You've already had a huge move in this one. If you look at the next one, a couple Toronto stocks, Dundee Precious Metals has the same sort of nice setup, bullish across most time frames, just about on the weekly as well. El Dorado, I believe it is, ELD, you can see the same sort of scenario. Again, looks really strong. Let's take the next one, EGO, which is El Dorado here in the States. So both of those looking about the same, not that much difference with respect to the currency changes. Hudbay Minerals, again, very strong looking stock, just about to turn positive, more than likely here. It's going to go sideways on the monthly and then also go to bullish, and so we've got a nice transition going on here, so very strong. Let's take another Toronto stock. This is IM Gold, again very strong across all time frames. Still, like the one prior, got to break these swing point highs to really get this thing going. One of my favorites I've talked about before, Harmony. Harmony's set up really strong. I like the setup in this one. You can see it's already broken out. This is probably the strongest of the group. And to finish out here is Seabridge, and again, Seabridge set up mostly like the others now. A little bit weaker, but coming back. I like these gold stocks. They're set up good, and the reason I like them, of course, is the precious metal itself has shown the strength. Gold stocks are going to play catch up, and that's where the real money is going to be made, is the catch up phase. Go with the strong, ignore the weak. Those are the ones I'd be looking at. So summing up here, gold broke out big time. May see a small retrace, but in general, this does not have to come back now. It could just barrel forward. If we look at silver, silver has got the some mojo itself. That gold-silver ratio, if it's still valid, says silver's got a long way to go. I like silver over gold if I'm looking long term, mainly for the potential that it brings to the table. If we look at the gold miners across the barrel, some love there finally. Harmony being my favorite. Silver miners, still weakish. If you look at most of those charts, they don't look very good. I'm not even going to pull them up. Uranium, that's in its early initial phase of the consolidation. Consolidations usually last for a while. Let me get the weekly up again. So what you're typically going to see in a consolidation is you're going to see the range first has to build out. So you have to find where the bottom is. Right now it's looking like it's going to try and be in this area somewhere in here. What will it do next? Well, typically what's going to happen is you're going to get the first push right down. You're going to come back, maybe you get halfway, maybe 3/4, you come back down, and then you try to break. You may get a shot underneath it. They may jump it before it even gets there, but that's what it happens. And then you see another push up that tries to break out, can't. A little stutter step halfway back down if it's going to break out, and then the push. That's the kind of scenario you're looking for. That's typically the way these things play out. Of course, there can be variations, but that's the general play. And that's it. This is a long video. I typically don't do them this long because your attention span isn't that long. But have a great one. Take care. See you next time.